Welcome, Katherine, to the Author Spotlight. Everyone, this is Katherine Leamy. She is the author of Dare to Travel Solo, which is a lovely book, honestly. I think that when it comes to reading a travel guide or something, it can be a little bit dry, but this is really from your perspective, and it's also written in the style of a novel, and it's just really captivating. So I urge everyone to read it if you're traveling. And yeah, can you tell us a little bit about your book to begin with? Why travel solo?
Oh, thank you. Why travel solo? It started out, I was about to turn 50, and I just wanted to do something. Well, actually, without giving too much of the story away, it originally wasn't going to be a solo trip, but circumstances changed, and I ended up going solo. And so, yeah, that was. And then I think even the circumstances changed from my travel companion. I sort of decided that I still wanted to carry on and do it. So yeah, it wasn't kind of by choice at first, but then it was by choice. It was actually quite organized by the end of it.
Yeah, I can imagine. I think that a lot of people could be quite nervous at the idea of traveling somewhere solo. I know I would be. So I think it's really daring to just go ahead and do it. It must have been quite thrilling as well.
It was, but you're right in that. I think the anticipation was, or the preparation was easy. I mean, it's very easy to be daring when you're sitting at home and you've got all your creature comforts around you and anyone to ask questions. And on paper, it looks, oh, I can do this. But then you get to actually doing it, and it's quite a different story. But it was pretty amazing that it didn't take long for me to flick the switch from being scared to actually loving it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Oh, that's really cool. I imagine you would have had some fantastic memories on this trip as well.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
I would love to know, like, what made you decide to write this book particularly?
Well, my mum has always encouraged me to write. I've written aerograms and emails just throughout my travel years, so since the 90s, and she's always said you should really write a book based on your travel. And I guess it's always been in the back of my mind. I then started up the website, the 5 Kilo Traveller, and uh, I was blogging and writing stories, and I was thinking, oh, I really like this whole writing business. Maybe I could write a memoir. And so, yeah, that's sort of how it all happened.
Wow. Yeah, I think it's really cool that you had all of these, I guess, snippets of your travels as you were going as well. That must have made it a little bit easier to remember exactly how things went.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you had the blog, the 5 Kilo Traveller. Why have you decided to dub yourself the 5 Kilo Traveller?
I guess it was just a bit of a catchy phrase, but I was traveling with that first trip. I think it was about 5.5 kilos, so about 11 pounds, and it was interesting. I actually went to a seminar on creating a website for beginners, and I was looking at creating a website on solo travel. And anyway, during the morning tea break, someone said, "Oh, how did you manage traveling solo?" And I said, "Well, it was easy because I just had a little bag." And they said, "Well, how big?" And I said, "Oh, about 5 kilos." And they were like, "Are you kidding me?" And everyone just absolutely erupted over this whole 5 kilo business. And the person running the day said, "That's what you need to do your blog on. That's what your website should be." Solo travel could be a bit of a side hustle to it, but she said it's the light travel that's really intriguing.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know anyone that can travel that lightly. Like, I mean, me, I take my entire wardrobe with me for a weekend trip. So the idea of traveling with just 5 kilos on a huge trip is mind-boggling. I think the technicalities of that would be really interesting, actually. Like, yeah, how do you decide what to take with you?
Well, I guess going back to the very beginning of why I did it in the first place was because I was by myself. I didn't have anyone to help me with my bags. I had a frozen shoulder. And normally, I would have someone to help me with bags, or, look after bags if you go to the toilet, or you need to get on buses and you've got some people that will help you. But being by myself, I didn't have that. So I needed to scale down my bag so that I could actually handle it. And that's sort of where the idea of traveling light came from. But the other thing is, with the website, it's not a competition. So you don't have to travel with 5 kilos. You don't even have to travel with carry-on. Really, it's about getting your bags lighter. So instead of carrying the maximum suitcase weight, maybe make it 16 kilos, or just, and thinking about what you're carrying, because I think so many people get home from their trip and there's a whole lot of stuff that they never used, they never wore, they never ran out of things, because, for instance, they took the whole shampoo bottle instead of just the amount that they actually needed. So it's the other thing with the website is I really push that it's got to work for you. I'm not going to tell people that you have to do 7 kilos or you have to do 10 kilos. You have to take what's going to be right for you. So if you're going to a number of events, then you do need to have different outfits. Yes, there's ways of mixing and matching items to change it up a bit, but at the end of the day, you want to feel good and you want to look the part. So my wardrobe, for instance, for this trip wouldn't do for if I was going to a wedding or anything like that. So it totally has to work for you.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, honestly. Just take exactly what you need for the trip, and just, see how that goes. I would encourage people to try that. I'm going to try it. It probably won't work out, but I will try. I'm interested about how you went about writing this book as well. Like you said before, you had like blog posts and little emails that you'd written along the way, but also your book is written like it's a novel. So it has like proper story, and the way that it's written isn't just factual, but it's all true. And so that's quite impressive. Would you mind telling me a little bit how you decided to write like that and your process behind it?
So I think I decided on doing a memoir because that was the really early moments of deciding I'm sort of a bit vague on. But I do remember someone on Instagram, I must have said to her that I was on a message that I was looking at writing a book, and she suggested I look up an author called Rachel Heron, who's written a book called Fast Draft: Your Memoir in 45 Hours. And the main words are fast draft, so it's just quick and get it written, get the basics written. And then I think I also, at the same time, I'm a great believer in things happening for a reason, and things, whether it's synchronicity, but things just fall into place. And a friend of mine introduced me to the New Zealand romance writers and our local chapter, which is the Coast to Coast. She invited me along, and I met all these writers and authors who have written in all sorts of genres, not just romance, incredibly clever people, and know all the ins and outs of publishing and writing. And I just absolutely absorbed all their knowledge through every pore that I could. But working with Rachel's book, I thought I did look at other sort of memoir, how to write memoir and everything like that. But I didn't want to go down a rabbit hole of writing a book and then changing all the time. So I basically stuck to her formula, and the formula can be used for writing a novel as well as a memoir. But it was just exactly what I needed as a completely novice writer. It was absolutely brilliant and very easy to read, very easy to take in all the information. and a great guide on doing that first draft and then doing all the edits and, what to focus your edits on and things like that. I also used a little bit of StoryGrid, which I quite like spreadsheets, and StoryGrid was great for making sure that I was hitting all those points, so making sure that the chapters had a beginning, a middle, and end, that there was a theme, that there was movement, that there was, positive and negative sort of things happening, not as in bad, I mean, as in positive and negative energy kind of in each chapter, and about having links to the next chapter. And I'm forgetting all the terminology, but that makes a story flow, real page turning things that someone they can't put the book down. And actually some of the feedback I'm getting from people is they wanted to, because it's only just gone on the market, and people are saying they were hoping to save it for their holiday, but they can't stop reading it.
I don't think there's a better review you could get for a book. That's amazing.
Oh, it's been really strange actually, because on my Instagram and Facebook page, the people that follow me, they really are really engaged, and so they're reading the book and they're messaging me and saying, "Hey, I'm in Dubrovnik with you at the moment."
Oh.
And it's really, really such a neat feeling.
Yeah, I bet it is. It sounds like you have a really supportive community around you, not just now with the book coming out, but beforehand as well, with the tips on how to write, and it just sounds like a fantastic time you've had.
Yeah, I mean, the whole writing process, I thought it was just a matter of writing a story and getting it down. And I'm so grateful to the New Zealand romance writers groups and to Rachel's book. And there are just, yeah, it's just the process. And then you start Googling things and it's just incredible. And I did get an editor through Readsy, and she was amazing, and she was a memoir writer, and she was fantastic. I think if you'd read the book before Jennifer got a hold of it, you would have been reading a lot about how there was a beautiful view and the sea was blue. So yeah, it was getting those experts' eyes on it was really fantastic.
Yeah, I bet it was. That's amazing. I also want to know a little bit about your trip as well. Were there any pleasant surprises that you came across, just as a way to, I guess, inspire someone who maybe wants to do this but isn't quite sure that they can do it by themselves?
Well, one thing I really enjoyed was I loved having I mean, I'm sort of picturing myself in Dubrovnik sitting on the steps eating a burek pastry and sitting there thinking, oh, I wonder what I'll do now. Like, I didn't need to ask anyone. I didn't need to think about whether the kids had been fed, or, whether we needed to move on, or whether we had to catch a bus or whatever. Everything was sort of in my own time. But then I also remember I went on a trip for a day down to Montenegro, and I was on a bus of people some were couples, some were single people, and it was just a wonderful day of talking with travelers, and I just absolutely loved it. So you can really mix it up. You can do things where you're by yourself, you can do things where you're with people. Now with online, with the internet, you can find walking tours and online meetups for travelers, and it's just fantastic. And if you stay at hostels, they've got things going, or you could just go and sit in the kitchen or the lounge and talk to people. So I really enjoyed, and I think that was probably a surprise, is that you think you're going on a solo trip, but actually you are solo, but you're also socializing a lot. And oh God, I found that I could make a conversation with a bus driver and the lady in the post office. And I was having all sorts of conversations, purely because, I didn't have anyone else to talk to. So, yeah.
sounds like a really good opportunity to meet these people that you would probably never get a chance to speak to because you are with someone else or like in a group with friends. So yeah, you really get a sense of what it's like to be a local or get to know these people, and it sounds just fabulous.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember years ago when I was in my early 20s, I went to Greece for a week by myself, um, and so I'd already done solo travel before. But I tell you what, as a 25-year-old, when you're sort of like, you've got no responsibilities and you're invincible, compared to a 50-year-old where you've got children and you're thinking, I really can't die doing this.
Yeah.
I have to survive. But I went to Santorini and I went to post some postcards home. And anyway, they were just about to shut the post office for lunch, and they said, would you like to come and have a cup of tea with us? And so I sat with this couple and had a cup of tea with them, and I noticed back then that actually when you are traveling by yourself, you're open. People don't feel threatened by the fact, not threatened, but they think, oh, there's two of you or three of you, we don't need to talk to you. But when you're by yourself, people are actually more open to talking to you.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Gosh, it's really inspiring me. I just want to go travel now. This is so good. I do want to know as well, do you have any plans to do another big trip and write a sequel to your book?
Well, I do have other plans to travel. I'm going to be hiking in Japan on the Kimono Kodo and the Nakasendo trails. So that's coming up soon. And I definitely will write another book, but I don't know whether I want to write memoir or whether I want to write contemporary fiction that's kind of travel adventure. I don't know if I want to write romance. I don't know how writing a novel, I think a novel is really hard because memoir is what I remember and it's the story's already there. But a novel, you've got to create this whole story. And I just take my head off to anyone that writes novels because I feel completely sort of floundering as to what to do. I mean, yes, I could do a memoir on it, but on Japan or any next trip. But I find that a memoir takes a lot personally. Like you've sort of got to share a lot of yourself. And I feel I've shared quite a bit. I don't want to overshare and I don't want to bore my poor readers. So I think the next one will be a novel. And yeah, definitely. I'm definitely got the writing bug.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, that's really exciting because I think, just reading what I've read, you've got a real knack for that storyteller flow. So yes, novels are difficult because they're not, based on fact, your own memories, but you have the bones for it, I think. So it's really exciting to know that you're going to do something like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, I just want to say thank you again for joining me today. It's been really nice to chat to you about your book. I can't wait to finish it, and I just hope that everyone else gets a chance to read it too because it's really inspiring. So yes, thank you for joining me today.
Well, thank you very much, Gabriella. It's been fun chatting.